Here are some ideas on how to build community within a time bank through specific types of events. Hello everyone, my name is Fatima Mahmood. Welcome and welcome back to my channel. All the following ideas and suggestions are about people within the time bank, the members, helping the leadership set up various types of events. And so the hope is that you don't necessarily have to go outside the time bank to get these types of helps for people, and it can all come from the membership. I'm a believer that time banks are full of people with talent, skills, and you just have to explore and have conversations to realize what all of that talent really is. Although time banking and exchanges evoke the idea of in-person meetings, I want to encourage continued use of virtual video call platforms as part of time bank programming and ways for people to connect with each other. I'm a believer that time banks have a lot of known and unknown talent within their membership. A great way to figure out what areas of talent and knowledge people have is to look at their offers and even some of the requests to find out what is frequently sought after. And I believe you can use a video conference platform and do very simple webinars with a presentation and Q&As for the time bank members. So you could have potentially a panel of speakers, maybe 3 or more. Time banks that I'm aware of have a lot of gardening experts within them and gardening enthusiasts. So a garden panel would be, I think, wonderful for many time banks, where people share their expertise and then other people ask them questions to get advice and tips. You could have a solo speaker who presents on certain issues or topics, and then followed by a Q&A. Same thing, you can find 2 people who have a share in something that they both offer but do it from different perspectives. Both of them can speak, and then you have a Q&A. Topics besides gardening that people could discuss based on the time banks that I've seen is, in general, sharing people's expertise. So if some people have experience running small businesses or even business of larger size, they could do a presentation on that. Many people in time banks are involved in other communities, even nonprofits, so they could talk about the work of their nonprofits that they do, especially if people have prior experience in movements. One person I know of does farming, which is a step up from gardening. And someone else also involved in unions. So you could talk about that union, what they do, union organizing. And so you just have to get creative by looking at the profiles, bios, and the offers of the members. But this is a sort of small lift time bank program that can happen virtually, and a great way for people to share their knowledge, expertise, earn hours, and provide advice and tips. Try hosting walking socials. One time bank hosts a semi-regular event called Walking Socials. These can be full-fledged daytime hikes or mini hikes in natural landscapes. They can happen through smaller regional nature parks or regular city parks and gardens. They can also happen in the many historic neighborhoods around your city or metropolitan area. The event host can simply be the person organizing the logistics, sending out the emails, then staying at the head of the line as the group walks. That person would be compensated for their time by charging the time to the time bank itself. If there are enough attendees, and at least one person could agree to be at the back of the line to see if anything happens to anyone ahead of them as the walk progresses. Generally, the pace should be very low impact and leisurely throughout, so not a great option for exercise enthusiasts. People generally walk, talk, socialize, and meet new time bankers as they go. If anyone has a regional tour guide, friend, or contact who can pitch some geographic suggestions, that might help. Obviously, in certain northern areas, avoid winter walking socials. Worked a very simple in-person social for the time bank. Pick an eatery that allows people to place their order at a counter and pay for it there or using QR codes, rather than a sit-down restaurant. That way people can easily pay for what they want and order what is comfortable for their budget at that moment. Let the establishment know ahead of time that you have a large group coming in, and get their permission to move around chairs and tables so everyone in the time bank can sit near each other. It's not always appropriate to just start moving around furniture in an eatery. The eatery should have both public transportation and parking available. Time banks can do in-person swaps. And if there are leftover items after these swaps, they can be distributed to charities afterwards. The kinds of things that can be distributed at the swaps are clothing, kitchen items, kitchen appliances, books and other printed reading materials, general working electronics, artwork in various mediums. Some might say vinyls, records could be exchanged. However, those could be increasing attention in the monetary economy, and therefore people might want to focus more on getting a financial reward for those. Things you'll need for in-person swaps is a venue, a space, tables, chairs, carts or dollies to move things, a space for parking and drop off if people are going to bring items via their cars. The catch-22 of leftovers is that certain charities or locations or thrift stores or church-based donations may not be willing to accept leftovers, period. And some places may not be able to accept or take in these leftovers on a weekend if the swap happens to be on a weekend. So I would recommend, if you're thinking of doing a swap, make sure you have a solid plan in place for what to do with the leftovers, because you never know how successful the event will be and how many leftovers they might be. Time banks can also host in-person skill shares. Some examples of skills that people can share with each other in person: knife sharpening, repairing bikes or scooters or other types of electronics, dance lessons, singing lessons, etc. Of course, you'll need a venue. You'll need tables, chairs, enough outlets, electricity. You'll also need a parking space in case people are going to transport items for the skill shares via their cars and not just on public transportation. There's always a trade-off if you do a skill share where there are multiple stations or tables and things being shared in one room. People are going to talk to each other, and that can get very loud, so it can get difficult to understand each other. If you are doing dance lessons in the same room as all these other stations or skills, then the music might make it difficult for conversations. Same thing for singing. So if there are ways to have separate rooms, that would be great. So keep that in mind. Time banks are organizations where the members are people who are connected to so many things that they may not even fully realize all of their connections within their communities. So search within your time bank for members who have special relationships with a place, institution, museum, historic home, historic garden, or organizations in your geographic area. That member could help organize a group tour for the time bank, and there may or may not be fees associated with that, or that could be negotiated. Someone in your time bank can organize an in-person event or a tech lab for time bankers who need more direct help with navigating and using both Our World as well as video platforms like Zooms. Many time banks already use Our World for exchanges. Often virtual events happen using Zoom or even personal MS Teams accounts. And there's a lot of reasons to do these tech labs. First, here's what you're going to need. You'll need a venue with both parking and public transportation, internet access or free Wi-Fi, and that is if people don't bring their own internet service or hotspot with them, meaning the time bank members. You'll need tables and chairs for workspace, the ability for people to charge their laptops or tablets. I encourage using In this tech lab, Our World and video call platforms on laptops, tablets, rather than smartphones. Here are specific areas that people might need help with for Our World in person. Account setup or reset up, which can be faster than emailing people and instructions and expecting them to be able to follow those instructions. General navigation, searches for offers request, inter-trade searches, keyword searches for members, locations, topics, zip codes, how to record hours, deleting incorrect hours soon after posting them by mistake, and how to message members through profiles. Here's what people may need help with Zoom accounts. General account setup and reset, again, faster than emailing people instructions and expecting them to be able to follow those. General navigation, seeing and documenting the participant list during a meeting, changing profile names before or during meetings in case you want people's first and last names to be clearly visible so people can find each other later, utilizing the chat feature or the Q&A boxes, understanding and utilizing breakout rooms. Of course, within each Timebank community, there will be groups of people who can figure this out for themselves or even look it up online. However, based on my interactions with multiple Timebanks, I think there are enough people within various Timebanks across the US who would benefit from this direct in-person help through tech labs. It's tempting to think that all of this can be taught remotely. However, I believe this will not work for many people, and this will not work for certain groups within Timebanks. It's always important to coordinate something like this with your respective Timebank leadership first. Here's an example from Maryland. A woman here occasionally receives free theater performance tickets in the tri-state area. She gives the free tickets to interested Timebankers and charges them for the show's runtime. So a 90-minute show that someone goes to for Timebank credit hours is going to be charged 90 minutes in Our World. See if you have folks like that with this access and resource within your Timebank membership. Here's a suggestion for how to promote and grow the membership of your Timebank. Your Timebank may be in a geographic location where there are lots of apartments and co-housing situations where people live in close proximity to each other rather than rows of townhomes or standalone homes. This is especially true in university cities and towns with student housing. Those places could often have traditional bulletin boards or even digital ones. If someone in your Timebank makes a flyer introducing your Timebank and its contact information or website, and someone can print it out, go and ask these building managements to post the flyers. This might involve contacting these buildings or places in person via email or via phone calls or even social media. Flyers can also be digital and posted to building electronic bulletin boards or message boards or chat groups if they have it. A great way to build up a Timebank and its momentum is if people live in close proximity to each other to provide quick and easy support. I was introduced to my first Timebank through an apartment building. A Timebanker lived on my floor. We easily exchanged pet sitting and baking desserts, etc. If the building has a nearby parking or indoor parking, then it makes exchanges involving rides and transportation easier if at least one Timebanker has a car and is willing to drive other people in exchange for hours. While some of these ideas are my own, I received some of them, for example, set by various Timebanks, and I want to say thank you to everyone who's putting effort into their Timebanks and creating and executing events. Thank you for watching my video. I'd love to hear from you on email at fmahmood@wellesley.edu. You can also find me on LinkedIn at that address. And if you do send me a connection request, please go ahead and send me a note. Before you go, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. And please go ahead and watch my next video. Thank you.